The book of Asher, we're continuing on, starting with chapter 31 through 35. Chapter 31 goes over Jacob is deceived and is given Leah in place of Rachel, but is given Rachel for 7 years more service. And we talks about Laban breaks his covenant by sending his son secretly to Esau that Jacob may fall in his hands. And chapter 32 goes over Jacob sends a message of peace to his brother Esau, who rejects it with contempt and advances to destroy him. And a host of angels put the fear inside of Esau. And chapter 33 goes over Jacob goes to Shechem, Dinah is defiled. And chapter 34 goes over the perfidy of Shechem, Simeon Levi sons of Jacob avenged the honor of their sister Dinah. And chapter 35 goes over the fear of mighty God Ahiah come upon the Canaanites, and they do not fight with Jacob. So let's get into chapter 31. Chapter 31. And in the 7th year Jacob's service which he served Laban was completed. And Jacob said unto Laban, Give me my wife, for the days of my service are fulfilled. And Laban did so. And Laban and Jacob assembled all the people of that place, and they made a feast. And in the evening Laban came to the house, and afterward Jacob came there with the people of the feast. And Laban extinguished all the lights that were there in the house. And Jacob said unto Laban, Wherefore thou do this thing unto us? And Laban answered, Such is our custom to act in this land. And afterward Laban took his daughter Leah, and he brought her to Jacob, and he came to her, and Jacob did not know that it was Leah. And Laban gave his daughter Leah his maid Zilpah for a handmaid. And all the people at the feast knew that Laban had done to Jacob, but they did not tell the thing to Jacob. And all the neighbors came that night to Jacob's house, and they ate and drank and rejoiced, and played before Leah upon timbrels and with dances. And they responded before Jacob, He Leah, he Leah. And Jacob heard their words, but did not understand their meaning. But he thought such might be their custom in this land. And the neighbors spoke these words before Jacob during the night, and the lights that were in the house Laban had that night extinguished. And in the morning when daylight appeared, Jacob turned to his wife, and he saw, and behold, it was Leah that had been lying in his bosom. And Jacob said, Behold, now I know what the neighbors said last night. He Leah, they said, I knew it not. And Jacob called unto Laban and said unto him, What is this that thou hast done to me? Surely I served thee for Rachel, and why didst thou deceive me at this give me Leah? And Laban answered Jacob, saying, Not so, it is done in our place to give the younger before the elder. Now therefore, if thou desirest to take her sister, likewise take her unto thee for the service which thou wilt serve me for another 7 years. And Jacob did so, and he also took Rachel for a wife, and he served Laban 7 years more. And Jacob also came to Rachel, and he loved Rachel more than Leah, and Laban gave her his maid Bilhah for a handmaid. Bilhah and Zilpah are twins, such as Rachel and Leah are twins. Continuing on, verse 14. And when mighty God Ahiah saw that Leah was hated, mighty God Ahiah opened her womb, and she conceived and bare Jacob 4 sons in those days. And these are the names, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. And she afterward left barren. And at that time Rachel was barren, and she had no offspring. And Rachel envied her sister Leah. And when Rachel saw that she bare no children to Jacob, she took her handmaid Bilhah, and she bare Jacob 2 sons, Dan and Naphtali. And when Leah saw that she had left bearing, she also took her handmaid Zilpah, and she gave her to Jacob for a wife. And Jacob also came to Zilpah, and she also bare Jacob 2 sons, Gad and Asher. And Leah again conceived and bare Jacob in those days 2 sons and 1 daughter. And these are the names, Issachar, Zebulun, and their sister Dinah. And Rachel was still barren in those days. And Rachel prayed unto mighty God Ahiah at the time, and she said, O mighty God Ahiah, my El Elohi, remember me and visit me. I beseech thee, for now my husband will cast me off, for I have borne him no children. Now, O mighty God, Ahia, my El Elohi, hear my supplication before thee, and see my affliction, and give me children like one of the handmaids, that I may no more bear my reproach. And mighty God Ahia heard her, and opened her womb. And Rachel conceived, and bare a son, and she said, Mighty God Ahia has taken away my reproach, and she called his name Joseph, saying, May mighty God Ahia add to me another son. And Jacob was 91 years old when she bare him. At that time Jacob's mother Rebekah sent her nurse Deborah, the daughter of Uz, and two of Isaac's servants unto Jacob. And they came to Jacob to Haran, and they said unto him, Rebekah has sent us to thee, that thou shalt return to thy father's house, to the land of Canaan. And Jacob hearkened unto them in this which his mother had spoken. At that time the other 7 years which Jacob served Laban for Rachel were completed. And it was at the end of 14 years that he had dwelt in Haran, that Jacob said unto Laban, Give me my wives, and send me away, that I may go to my land. For behold, my mother did send unto me from the land of Canaan, that I should return to my father's house. And Laban said unto him, Not so, I pray thee. If I have found favor in thy sight, do not leave me. Appoint me thy wages, and I will give them, and remain with thee. And Jacob said unto him, This is what thou shalt give me for wages, that I shall this day pass through all thy flock, and take away from them every lamb that is speckled and spotted, and such as are brown amongst the sheep, and amongst the goats. And if thou wilt do this thing for me, I will return and feed thy flock, and keep them as at first. And Laban did so. And Laban removed from his flock all that Jacob had said, and gave them to him. And Jacob placed all that he had removed from Laban's flock in the hands of his sons, and Jacob was feeding the remainder of Laban's flock. And when the servants of Isaac which he had sent unto Jacob saw that Jacob would not then return with them to the land of Canaan, to his father, they then went away from him, and they returned home to the land of Canaan. And Deborah remained with Jacob in Haran, and she did not return with the servants of Isaac to the land of Canaan. And Deborah resided with Jacob's wives and children in Haran. And Jacob served Laban 6 years longer, and when the sheep brought forth, Jacob removed from them such as were speckled and spotted, as he had determined with Laban. And Jacob did so at Laban's for 6 years. And the man increased abundantly, and he had cattle and maidservants and men servants, camels and asses. And Jacob had 200 drove of cattle, and his cattle were of large size and of beautiful appearance, and were very productive. And all the families of the sons of men desired to get some of the cattle of Jacob, for they were exceedingly prosperous. And many of the sons of men came to procure some of Jacob's flock, and Jacob gave them a sheep for a manservant or a maidservant, or for an ass or a camel, or whatever Jacob desired from them they gave him. And Jacob obtained riches and honor and possessions by means of these transactions with the sons of men, and the children of Laban envied him of this honor. And in the course of time he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's has he acquired all this glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban and of his children, and behold, it was not toward him in those days as it had been before. And mighty God Ahai appeared to Jacob at the expiration of the 6 years, and said unto him, Arise, go forth out of this land, and return to thy land of thy birthplace, and I will be with thee. And Jacob rose up at that time, and he mounted his children and wives and all belonging to him upon camels, and he went forth to go to the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. And Laban did not know that Jacob had gone from him, for Laban had been that day sheep shearing. And Rachel stole her father's images, idols, and she took them, and she concealed them upon the camel upon which she sat, and she went on. And this is the manner of the images, the idols, in taking a man who is the firstborn of slaying him, and taking the hair off his head, and taking salt and salting the head and anointing it in oil, then taking a small tablet of copper or a tablet of gold, and writing the name upon it, and placing the tablet under his tongue, and taking the head with the tablet under the tongue, and putting it in the house, and lighting up lights before it, and bowing down to it. And at the time when they bow down to it, it speaketh to them in all matters that they ask of it, through the power of the name which it is written in. Sounds like witchcraft and sorcery, which is forbidden. Verse 43. And some make them in the figures of men of gold and silver, and go to them in times known to them. And the figures receive the influence of the stars, and tell them future things. And in this manner were the images which Rachel stole from her father. And Rachel stole these images which were her father's, in order that Laban might not know through them where Jacob had gone. And Laban came home, and he asked concerning Jacob and his household, and he was not to be found. And Laban sought his images, his idols, to know where Jacob had gone, and could not find them. And he went to some other images, and he inquired of them, and they told him that Jacob had fled from him to his fathers, to the land of Canaan. And Laban then rose up, and he took his brothers and all his servants, and he went forth and pursued Jacob, and he overtook him in Mount Gilead. And Laban said unto Jacob, What is this thou hast done to me, to flee and deceive me, and lead my daughters and their children as captives taken by the sword? And thou didst not suffer me to kiss them and send them away with joy, and thou didst steal my gods, and didst go away. And Jacob answered Laban, saying, Because I was afraid lest thou wouldest take thy daughters by force from me, and now with whomever thou findest thy gods he shall die. And Laban searched for the images, the idols, and he examined in all Jacob's tents and furniture, but could not find them. And Laban said unto Jacob, We will make a covenant together, and it shall be a testimony between me and thee, if thou shalt afflict my daughters, or shalt take other wives besides my daughters, even God shall be a witness between me and thee in this matter. And they took stones and made a heap, and Laban said, This heap is a witness between me and thee. Therefore he called the name thereof Gilead. And Jacob and Laban offered sacrifices upon the mount, and they ate there by the heap, and they tarried in the mount all night. And Laban rose up early in the morning, and he wept with his daughters, and kissed them, and he returned into his place. And he hastened and sent off his son Beor, who was 17 years old, with Abikoroth, the son of Uz, the son of Nahor, and with them were 10 men. And they hastened and went and passed on the road before Jacob, and they came by another road to the land of Seir. And they came unto Esau, and said unto him, Thus said thy brother and relative, thy mother's brother Laban, the son of Bethuel, saying, Hast thou heard what Jacob thy brother has done unto me, who first came to me naked and bare, and I went to meet him, and brought him to my house with honor, and I made him great, and I gave him my 2 daughters for wives, and also 2 of my maids. And mighty God Ahiah blessed him on my account, and he increased abundantly, and had sons and daughters, and maidservants. He has also an immense stock of flocks and herds. Excuse me a second. We'll back that up to verse 59. And he has also an immense stock of flocks and herds, camels and asses, also silver and gold, in abundance. And when he saw that his wealth increased, he left me whilst I went to shear my sheep, and he rose up and fled in secrecy. And he lifted his wives and children upon camels, and he led away all his cattle and property which he acquired in my land, and he lifted up his countenance to go to his father Isaac to the land of Canaan. And he did not suffer me to kiss my daughters and their children, and he led my daughters as captives taken by the sword, and he also stole my gods, and he fled. And now I have left him in the mountain of the brook of Jabbok, him and all belonging to him, he lacketh nothing. If it be thy wish to go to him, go then, and there wilt thou find him, and thou canst do unto him as thy soul desired. And Laban's messengers came and told Esau all these things. And Esau heard all the words of Laban's messengers, and his anger was greatly kindled against Jacob. And he remembered his hatred, and his anger burned within him. And Esau hastened and took his children and servants and the souls of his household, being 60 men, and he went and assembled all the children of Seir, the Horites, and their people, being 340 men. And he took all this number of 400 men with drawn swords, and he went unto Jacob to smite him. And Esau divided this number into several parts, and he took the 60 men of his children and servants and the souls of his household as one head, and gave them in care of Eliphaz, the eldest son. And the remaining heads he gave to the care of the 6 sons of Seir, the Horite, and he placed every man over his generation and children. And the whole of this camp went as it was, and Esau went amongst them toward Jacob, and he conducted them with speed. And Laban's messengers departed from Esau, and went to the land of Canaan, and they came to the house of Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau. And they told her, saying, Behold, thy son Esau has gone against his brother Jacob with 400 men for he heard that he was coming, and he is gone to make war with him, and to smite him, and to take all that he has. And Rebekah hastened and sent 72 men from the servants of Isaac to meet Jacob on the road, for she said, Peradventure Esau may make war in the road when he meets him. And these messengers went on the road to meet Jacob, and they met him in the road of the brook on the opposite side of the brook Jabbok. And Jacob said when he saw them, This camp is destined to me from mighty God Ahiah. And Jacob called the name of that place Machnaim. And Jacob knew all his father's people, and he kissed them and embraced them and came with them. And Jacob asked them concerning his father and mother, and they said they were well. And these messengers said unto Jacob, Rebekah thy mother has sent us to thee, saying, I have heard, my son, that thy brother Esau has gone forth against thee on the road with men from the children of Seir the Horites. And therefore, my son, hearken to my voice, and see with thy counsel what thou wilt do. And when he cometh up to thee, supplicate him, and do not speak rashly to him, and give him a present from what thou possessest, and from what mighty God Ahiah has favored with thee. And when he asked thee concerning thy affairs, conceal nothing from him. Perhaps he may turn from his anger against thee, and thou wilt thereby save thy soul, though and all belonging to thee. For it is thy duty to honor him, for he is thy elder brother. And when Jacob heard the words of his mother, which the messengers had spoken to him, Jacob lifted up his voice and wept bitterly, and did as his mother then commanded him. Chapter 32. And at that time Jacob sent messengers to his brother Esau toward the land of Seir, and he spoke to him words of supplication. And he commanded them, saying, Thus shall ye say to my lord, to Esau, Thus said thy servant Jacob, Let not my lord imagine that my father's blessing with which he did bless me has proved beneficial to me. For I have been these 20 years with Laban, and he deceived me and changed my wages 10 times, as it has all been already told unto my lord. And I served him in his house very laboriously, and mighty God Ahiah afterwards saw my affliction, my labor, and the work of my hands, and he caused me to find grace and favor in his sight. And afterward, through mighty God Ahiah's great mercy and kindness, acquired oxen and asses and cattle and men servants and maid servants. And now I am coming to my land and my home, to my father and mother, who are in the land of Canaan. And I have sent to let my Lord know all this in order to find favor in the sight of my Lord, so that he may not imagine that I have of myself obtained wealth, or that the blessing with which my father blessed me has benefited me. And those messengers went to Esau and found him on the border of the land of Edom, going toward Jacob. And 400 men of the children of Seir, the Horites, were standing with drawn swords. And the messengers of Jacob told Esau all the words that Jacob had spoken to them concerning Esau. And Esau answered them with pride and contempt, and said unto them, Surely I have heard, and truly it has been told unto me what Jacob has done to Laban, who exalted him in his house, and gave him his daughters for wives, and he begat sons and daughters, and abundantly increased in wealth and riches in Laban's house through his means. And when he saw that his wealth was abundant and his riches great, he fled with all belonging to him from Laban's house, and he led Laban's daughters away from the face of their father as captives taken by the sword, without telling him of it. And not only to Laban has Jacob done thus, but also unto me has he done so, and has twice supplanted me. And shall I be silent? Now therefore I have this day come with my camps to meet him, and I will do unto him according to the desire of my heart. And the messengers returned and came to Jacob, and said unto him, We came to thy brother to Esau, and we told him all thy words. And thus he answered us, and behold, he cometh to meet thee with 400 men. Now then, know and see what thou shalt do, and pray before mighty God Ahijah to deliver thee from him. And when he heard the words of his brother, which he had spoken to the messengers of Jacob, Jacob was greatly afraid, and he was distressed. And Jacob prayed to mighty God Ahijah, his El Elohi, and he said, O mighty God Ahijah of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, thou didst say unto me when I went away from my father's house, saying, I am mighty God Ahijah of thy father Abraham, and the mighty God of Isaac. Unto thee do I give this land, and thy seed after thee. And I will make thy seed as the stars of heaven, and thou shalt spread forth to the four sides of heaven, and in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And thou didst establish thy words, and didst give unto me riches and children and cattle, as the utmost wishes of my heart didst thou give unto thy servant. Thou didst give unto me all that I asked from thee, so that I lack nothing. And thou didst afterwards say unto me, Return to thy parent and to thy birthplace, and I will still do well with thee. And now that I have come, and thou didst deliver me from Laban, I shall fall in the hands of Esau, who will slay me, yea, together with the mothers of my children. Now therefore, O mighty God Ahijah, my El Elohi, deliver me, I pray thee, also from the hands of my brother Esau, for I am greatly afraid of him. And if there is no righteousness in me, do it for the sake of Abraham and my father Isaac. For I know that through kindness and mercy have I acquired this wealth. Now therefore I beseech thee to deliver me this day with the kindness, and to answer me. And Jacob ceased praying to mighty God Ahijah, and he divided the people that were with him with the flocks and cattle into 2 camps. And he gave the half to the care of Demasek, the son of Eleazar, Abraham's servant, for a camp with his children, and the other half he gave to the care of his brother Elianas, the son of Eleazar, to be for a camp with his children. And he commanded them, saying, Keep yourselves at a distance with your camps, and do not come too near each other. And if Esau come to one camp and slay it, the other camp at a distance from it will escape him. And Jacob tarried there that night, and during the whole night he gave his servants instructions concerning the forces and his children. And mighty God Ahijah heard the prayer of Jacob on that day, and mighty God Ahijah then delivered Jacob from the hand of his brother Esau. And mighty God Ahijah sent 3 angels of the angels of heaven, and they went before Esau and came to him. And these angels appeared unto Esau and his people as 2,000 men riding upon horses, furnished with all sorts of war instruments. And they appeared in the sight of Esau and all his men, to be divided into 4 camps, with 4 chiefs to them. And one camp went on, and they found Esau coming with 400 men toward his brother Jacob, And this camp ran toward Esau and his people and terrified them. And Esau fell off the horse in alarm, and all his men separated from him in that place, for they were greatly afraid. And the whole of the camp shouted after them when they fled from Esau. And all the warlike men answered, saying, Surely we are the servants of Jacob, who is the servant of mighty God Ahiah, and who then can stand against us? And Esau said unto them, O then, my lord, and my brother Jacob is your lord, whom I have not seen for these 20 years. And now that I have this day come to see him, do you treat me in this manner? And the angels answered him, saying, As mighty God Ahiah liveth, were not Jacob, of whom thou speakest, thy brother, we had not let one remaining from thee and thy people, but only on account of Jacob we will do nothing to them. And this camp passed from Esau and his men, and it went away. And Esau and his men had gone from them about a league, when the second camp came toward him with all sorts of weapons. And they also did unto Esau and his men as the first camp had done to them. And when they had left it to go on, behold, the third camp came toward him, and they were all terrified. And Esau fell off the horse, and the whole camp cried out and said, Surely we are the servants of Jacob, who is the servants of mighty God Ahiah, and who can stand against us? And Esau again answered them, saying, O then, Jacob my lord, and your lord is my brother, and for 20 years I have not seen his countenance. And hearing this day that he was coming, I went this day to meet him, and do you treat me in this manner? And they answered him and said unto him, As mighty God Ahiah liveth, were not Jacob thy brother, as thou didst say, we had not left a remnant from thee and thy men, but on account of Jacob, of whom thou speakest, being thy brother, we will not meddle with thee or thy men. And the third camp also passed from them, and he still continued his road with his men toward Jacob, when the fourth camp came toward him, and they also did unto him and his men as the others had done. And when Esau beheld the evil which the four angels had done to him and to his men, he became greatly afraid of his brother Jacob, and he went to meet him in peace. And Esau concealed his hatred against Jacob, because he was afraid of his life on account of his brother Jacob, and because he imagined that the four camps that he had lighted up upon were Jacob's servants. And Jacob tarried that night with his servants in their camps, and he resolved with his servants to give unto Esau a present from all that he had with him, and from all his property. And Jacob rose up in the morning, and he and his men, and they chose from amongst the cattle a present for Esau. And this is the amount of the present which Jacob chose from his flock to give unto his brother Esau. And he selected 240 head from the flocks, and he selected from the camels and asses 30 each. And of the herds he chose 50 kine. And he put them all in 10 droves, and he placed each sort by itself, and he delivered them into the hand of 10 of his servants, each drove by itself. And he commanded them and said unto them, Keep yourselves at a distance from each other, and put a space between the droves. And when Esau and those who are with him shall meet you, and ask you, saying, Who are you? And whither do you go? And to whom belongeth all this before you? You shall say unto them, We are the servants of Jacob, and we come to meet Esau in peace. And behold, Jacob cometh behind us. And that which is before us is a present sent from Jacob to his brother Esau. And if they shall say unto you, Why doth he delay behind you for coming to meet his brother, and to see his face? Then you shall say unto him, Surely he cometh joyfully behind us to meet his brother, for he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth to him, and after this I will see his face, peradventure he will accept of me. So the whole present passed on in the hands of his servants, and went before him on that day, and he lodged that night with his camp by the border of the brook of Jabbok. And he rose up in the midst of the night, and he took his wives and his maidservants, and all belonging to him, and he that night passed them over the ford Jabbok. And when he passed all belonging to him over the brook, Jacob was left by himself, and a man met him, and he wrestled with him that night until the breaking of the day. And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint through wrestling with him. And at the break of the day, that man left Jacob there, and he blessed him and went away. And Jacob passed the brook at the break of day, and he halted upon his thigh. And the sun rose upon him when he had passed the brook, and he came up to the place of his cattle and children. And they went on till midday, and whilst they were going, the present was passing on before them. And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau was at a distance coming along with many men, about 400, and Jacob was greatly afraid of his brother. And Jacob hastened and divided his children into his wives and his handmaids, and his daughters. Dinah he put in a chest, and delivered her into the hand of his servants. And he passed before his children and wives to meet his brother, and he bowed down to the ground. Yea, he bowed down 7 times until he approached his brother. And mighty God Ahiah caused Jacob to find grace and favor in the sight of Esau and his men, for mighty God Ahiah had heard the prayer of Jacob. And the fear of Jacob and his terror fell upon his brother Esau, for Esau was greatly afraid of Jacob for what the angels of mighty God Ahiah had done to Esau. And Esau's anger against Jacob was turned into kindness. And when Esau saw Jacob running toward him, he also ran toward him, and he embraced him, and he fell upon his neck, and they kissed, and they wept. And mighty God Ahiah put fear and kindness toward Jacob in the hearts of the men that came with Esau, and they also kissed Jacob and embraced him. And also Eliphaz the son of Esau with his 4 brothers, son of Esau, wept with Jacob, and they kissed him and embraced him, for the fear of Jacob had fallen upon them all. And Esau lifted up his eyes, and he saw the women with their offspring, the children of Jacob, walking behind Jacob and bowing along the road to Esau. And Esau said unto Jacob, Who are these with thee, my brother? Or they thy children or thy servants? And Jacob answered Esau and said, They are my children, which mighty God Ahiah has graciously given to thy servant. And whilst Jacob was speaking to Esau and his men, Esau beheld the whole camp, and he said unto Jacob, Whence didst thou get the whole of the camp that I met yesternight? And Jacob said, To find favor in the sight of my Lord. It is that which mighty God Ahiah graciously gave to thy servant. And the present came before Esau, and Jacob pressed Esau, saying, Take, I pray thee, the present that I have brought to my Lord. And Esau said, Wherefore is this my purpose? Keep that which thou hast unto thyself. And Jacob said, It is incumbent upon me to give all this, since I have seen thy face, that thou still livest in peace. And Esau refused to take the present, and Jacob said unto him, I beseech thee, my Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand, for I have therefore seen thy face, as though I had seen a godlike face, because thou wast pleased with me. And Esau took the present, and Jacob also gave unto Esau silver and gold and bdellium, for he pressed him so much that he took them. And Esau divided the cattle that were in the camp, and he gave the half to the men who had come with him, for they had come on hire, and the other half he delivered into the hands of his children. And the silver and gold and the bdellium he gave in the hands of Eliphaz his eldest son. And Esau said unto Jacob, Let us remain with thee, and we will go slowly along with thee until thou comest to my place with me, that we may dwell there together. And Jacob answered his brother and said, I will do as my Lord speaketh unto me, but my Lord knoweth that the children are tender, and the flocks and herds with their young who are with me go but slowly. For if they went swiftly, they would all die, for thou knowest their burdens and their fatigue. Therefore let my Lord pass on before his servant, and I will go on slowly for the sake of the children and the flock, until I come to my Lord's place to Seir. And Esau said unto Jacob, I will place with thee some of the people that are with me to take care of thee in the road and to bear thy fatigue and burden. And he said, What needed it, my Lord, if I may find grace in thy sight? Behold, I will come unto thee to Seir to dwell there together as thou hast spoken. Go thou then with thy people, for I will follow thee. And Jacob said this to Esau in order to remove Esau and his men from him, so that Jacob might afterward go to his father's house to the land of Canaan. And Esau hearkened to the voice of Jacob, and Esau returned with the 400 men that were with him on their road to Seir. And Jacob and all belonging to him went that day as far as the extremity of the land of Canaan in its borders, and he remained there some time. Chapter 33. And in some time after Jacob went away from the borders of the land, and he came to the land of Shalem, that is the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan. He rested in front of the city. And he brought a parcel of the field which was there from the children of Hamor, the people of the land, for 5 shekels. And Jacob there built himself a house, and he pitched his tent there, and he made booths for his cattle. Therefore he called the name of that place Sukkot. And Jacob remained in Sukkot 1 year and 6 months. At that time some of the women of the inhabitants of the land went to the city of Shechem to dance and rejoice with the daughters of the people of the city. And when they went forth, then Rachel and Leah, the wives of Jacob, with their families also went to behold the rejoicing of the daughters of the city. And Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, also went along with them and saw the daughters of the city, and they remained there before these daughters, whilst all the people of the city were standing by them to behold their rejoicings. And all the great people of the city were there. And Shechem, the son of Hamor, the prince of the land, was also standing there to see them. And Shechem beheld Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, sitting with her mother before the daughters of the city, and the damsel pleased him greatly. And he there asked his friends and his people, saying, Whose daughter is that sitting amongst the women, whom I do not know in this city? And they said unto him, Surely this is the daughter of Jacob, the son of Isaac the Hebrew, who has dwelt in this city for some time. And when it was reported that the daughters of the land were going forth to rejoice, she went with her mother and maid servant to sit amongst them, as thou seest. And Shechem beheld Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and when he looked at her, his soul became fixed upon Dinah. And he sent and had her taken by force. And Dinah came to the house of Shechem, and he seized her forcibly, and lay with her, and humbled her. And he loved her exceedingly, and placed her in his house. And they came and told the thing unto Jacob. And when Jacob heard that Shechem had defiled his daughter Dinah, Jacob sent 12 of his servants to fetch Dinah from the house of Shechem. And they went and came to the house of Shechem to take away Dinah from there. And when they came, Shechem went out to them with his men and drove them from his house, and he would not suffer them to come before Dinah. But Shechem was sitting with Dinah, kissing and embracing her before their eyes. And the servant of Jacob came back and told him, saying, When we came, he and his men drove us away, and thus did Shechem do unto Dinah before our eyes. And Jacob knew moreover that Shechem had defiled his daughter, but he said nothing. And his sons were feeding his cattle in the field, and Jacob remained silent to their return. And before his sons came home, Jacob sent 2 maidens from his servants' daughters to take care of Dinah in the house of Shechem, and to remain with her. And Shechem sent 3 of his friends to his house, Hamor, the son of Chiddekem, the son of Pered, saying, Get me this damsel for a wife. And Hamor, the son of Chiddekem, the Hivite, came to the house of Shechem his son, and he sat before him. And Hamor said unto his son, Shechem, is there then no woman amongst thy daughters of thy people that thou wilt take as a Hebrew woman who is not of thy people? And Shechem said to him, Her only must thou get for me, for she is delightful in my sight. And Hamor did according to the word of his son, for he was greatly beloved by him. And Hamor went forth to Jacob to commune with him concerning this matter. And when he had gone from his house of his son Shechem, before he came to Jacob to speak unto him, behold, the sons of Jacob had come from the field as soon as they heard the thing that Shechem the son of Hamor had done. And the men were very much grieved concerning their sister, and they all came home fired with anger before the time of gathering in their cattle. And they came and sat before their father, and they spoke unto him, kindled with wrath, saying, surely death is due to this man and to his household, because mighty God Ahiah, our El Elohi of the whole earth, commanded Noah and his children that man shall never rob nor commit idolatry. Now, behold, Shechem has both ravaged and committed fornication with our sister, and not one of all the people of the city spoke a word to him. Surely thou knowest and understand that the judgment of death is due to Shechem, and to his father, and to the whole city on account of this thing which he has done. And whilst they were speaking before their father in this matter, behold, Hamor the father of Shechem came to speak to Jacob the words of his son concerning Dinah, and he said before Jacob and before his sons. And Hamor spoke unto them, saying, the soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. I pray you give her unto him for a wife, and intermarry with us. Give us your daughters, and we will give you our daughters, and you shall dwell with us in our land, and we will be as one people in the land. For our land is very extensive, so dwell you and trade therein, and get possessions in it, and do therein as you desire, and no one shall prevent you by saying a word to you. And Hamor ceased speaking unto Jacob and his sons, and behold, Shechem his son had come after him, and he sat before them. And Shechem spoke before Jacob and his sons, saying, may I find favor in your sight, that you will give me your daughter, and whatever you say unto me, that I will do for her. Ask me for abundance of dowry and give, and I will give it, and whatever you shall say unto me, that I will do, and whoever he be that will rebel against your orders, he shall die. Only give me the damsel for a wife. And Simeon and Levi answered Hamor and Shechem his son deceitfully, saying, all you have spoken to us we will do for you. And behold, our sister is in your house, but keep away from her until we send to our father Isaac concerning this matter, for we can do nothing without his consent. For he knoweth the ways of our father Abraham, and whatever he said unto us we will tell you. We will conceal nothing from you. And Simeon and Levi spoke this unto Shechem and his father, in order to find a pretext and to seek counsel what was to be done to Shechem and to his city in this matter. And when Shechem and his father heard the words of Simeon and Levi, it seemed good in their sight, and Shechem and his father came forth to go home. And when they had gone, the sons of Jacob said unto their father, saying, behold, we know that death is due to these wicked ones and to their city, because they transgressed that which mighty God Ahiah had commanded unto Noah and his children and his seed after them. And also because Shechem did this thing to our sister Dinah in defiling her, for such vileness shall never be done amongst us. Now therefore know and see what you will do, and seek counsel and pretext what is to be done to them, in order to kill all the inhabitants of this city. And Simeon said to them, where is a proper advice for you? Tell them to circumcise every male amongst them as we are circumcised, and if they do not wish to do this, we shall take our daughter from them and go away. And if they consent to do this, and will do it, then when they are sunk down with pain, we will attack them with our swords, as upon one who is quiet and peaceful, and we will slay every male person amongst them. And Simeon's advice pleased them, and Simeon and Levi resolved to do unto them as it was proposed. And on the next morning Shechem and Hamor his father came again unto Jacob and his sons to speak concerning Dinah, and to hear what answer the sons of Jacob would give to their words. And the sons of Jacob spoke deceitfully to them, saying, we told our father Isaac all your words, and your words pleased him. But he spoke unto us, saying, thus did Abraham his father commanded him from mighty God Ahiah, our El Elohi of the whole earth, that any man who is not of his descendants that shall wish to take one of his daughters shall cause every male belonging to him to be circumcised as we are circumcised, and then we may give him our daughter for a wife. Now we have made known to you all our ways that our father spoke unto us, for we cannot do this of which you spoke unto us, to give our daughter to an uncircumcised man, for it is a disgrace to us. But herein we will consent to you to give you our daughter, and we will also take unto ourselves your daughters, and will dwell amongst you, and be one people, as you have spoken, if you will hearken to us, and consent to be like us, to circumcise every male belonging to you, as we are circumcised. And if you will not hearken unto us, to have every male circumcised as we are circumcised, as we have commanded, then we will come to you and take our daughter from you and go away. And Shechem and his father Hamor heard the words of the sons of Jacob, and the thing pleased them exceedingly. And Shechem and his father Hamor hastened to do the wishes of the sons of Jacob, for Shechem was very fond of Dinah, and his soul was riveted to her. And Shechem and his father Hamor hastened to the gate of the city, and they assembled all the men of their city, and spoke unto them the words of the sons of Jacob, saying, We came to these men, the sons of Jacob, and we spoke unto them concerning their daughter, and these men will consent to do according to our wishes. And behold, our land is of great extent for them, and they will dwell in it and trade in it, and we shall be one people. We will take their daughters, and our daughters we will give unto them for wives. But only on this condition will these men consent to do this thing, that every male amongst us be circumcised as they are circumcised, as their mighty God Ahiah commanded them. And when we shall have done according to their instructions to be circumcised, then will they dwell amongst us together with their cattle and possessions, and we shall be as one people with them. And when all the men of the city heard the words of Shechem and his father Hamor, then all the men of their city were agreeable to this proposal, and they obeyed to be circumcised. For Shechem and his father Hamor were greatly esteemed by them, being the prince of the land. And on the next day Shechem and Hamor his father rose up early in the morning, and they assembled all the men of their city into the middle of the city, and they called for their sons of Jacob, who circumcised every male belonging to them on that day and the next. And they circumcised Shechem and Hamor his father, and the 5 brothers of Shechem, and then every one rose up and went home. For this thing was from mighty God Ahiah against the city of Shechem, and from mighty God Ahiah was Simeon's counsel in this matter, in order that mighty God Ahiah might deliver the city of Shechem into the hand of Jacob's 2 sons. Chapter 34. And the number of all the males that were circumcised were 645 men and 246 children. But Chedekam, son of Pered, the father of Hamor, and his 6 brothers would not listen unto Shechem and his father Hamor, and they would not be circumcised, for the proposal of the sons of Jacob was loathsome in their sight, and their anger was greatly roused at this, that the people of the city had not hearkened to them. And in the evening of the 2nd day they found 8 small children who had not been circumcised, for their mothers had concealed them from Shechem and his father Hamor, and from the men of the city. And Shechem and his father Hamor sent to have them brought before them to be circumcised, when Chedekam and his 6 brothers sprang at them with their swords, and sought to slay them. And they sought to slay also Shechem and his father Hamor, and they sought to slay Dinah with them on account of this matter. And they said unto them, What is this thing that you have done? Are there no women amongst the daughters of your brethren the Canaanites, that you wish to take unto yourselves daughters of the Hebrews, whom you knew not before, and will do this act which your fathers never commanded you? Do you imagine that you will succeed through this act which you have done? And what will you answer in this affair to your brethren the Canaanites, who will come tomorrow and ask you concerning this thing. And if your acts shall not appear just and good in their sight, what will you do for your lives, and me for our lives, in your not having hearkened to our voices? And if the inhabitants of the land and all your brethren, the children of Ham, shall hear of your acts, saying, On account of a Hebrew woman did Shechem and Hamor his father, and all the inhabitants of their city do that with which they had been unacquainted, and which their ancestors never commanded them, where then will you fly, or where conceal your shame all your days before your brethren, the inhabitants of the land of Canaan? Now therefore we cannot bear up against this thing which you have done, neither can we be burdened with this yoke upon us, which our ancestors did not command us. Behold, tomorrow we will go and assemble all our brethren, the Canaanitish brethren, who dwell in the land, and we will all come and smite you and all those who trust in you, that there shall not be a remnant left from you or them. And when Hamor his son, Shechem, and all the people of the city heard the words of Shechem and his brothers, they were terribly afraid of their lives at their words, and they repented of what they had done. And Shechem and his father Hamor answered their father Shechem and his brethren, and they said unto them, All the words which you spoke unto us are true. Now do not say nor imagine in your hearts that on account of the love of the Hebrews we did this thing, that our ancestors did not command us. But because we saw that it was not their intention and desire to accede to our wishes concerning their daughter as to our taking her, except on this condition, so we hearkened to their voices and did this act which you saw, in order to obtain our desire from them. And when we shall have obtained our request from them, we will then return to them, and to do unto them that which you say unto us. We beseech you then to wait and tarry until our flesh shall be healed, and we again become strong, and we will then go together against them, and do unto them that which is in your hearts and in ours. And Dinah the daughter of Jacob heard all these words which Shechem and his brothers had spoken, and what Hamor his son Shechem and the people of their city had answered them. And she hastened and sent one of her maidens that her father had sent to take care of her in the house of Shechem to Jacob her father and to her brethren, saying, Thus did Shechem and his brothers advise concerning you, and thus did Hamor and Shechem and the people of the city answer them. And when Jacob heard these words, he was filled with wrath, and he was indignant at them, and his anger was kindled against them. And Simeon and Levi swore and said, As mighty God Ahia liveth, our El Elohim, mighty God Ahia of the whole earth, by this time tomorrow there shall not be a remnant left in the whole city. And 20 young men had concealed themselves, who were not circumcised, and these young men fought against Simeon and Levi, and Simeon and Levi killed 18 of them, and 2 fled from them and escaped to some lime pits that were in the city, and Simeon and Levi sought for them, but could not find them. And Simeon and Levi continued to go about in the city, and they killed all the people of the city at the edge of the sword, and they left none remaining. And there was a great consternation in the midst of the city, and the cry of the people of the city ascended to heaven, and all the women and children cried aloud. And Simeon and Levi slew all the city, they left not a male remaining in the whole city. And they slew Hamor and Shechem his son at the edge of the sword, and they brought away Dinah from the house of Shechem, and they went from there. And the sons of Jacob went and returned, and came upon the slain, and spoiled all their property which was in the city and the field. And whilst they were taking the spoil, 300 men stood up and threw dust at them and struck them with stones, when Simeon turned to them, and he slew them all with the edge of the sword. And Simeon turned before Levi and came into the city. And they took away their sheep and their oxen and their cattle, and also the remainder of the women and little ones, and they led away these away. And they opened a gate and went out and came into their father Jacob with vigor. And when Jacob saw all that they had done to the city and saw the spoil that they took from them, Jacob was very angry at them. And Jacob said unto them, What is this that you have done to me? Behold, I obtained rest among the Canaanitish inhabitants of the land, and none of them meddled with us. And now you have done to make me obnoxious to the inhabitants of the land amongst the Canaanites and the Perizzites, and I am but a small number, and they withal assemble against me and slay me when they hear of your work with their brethren, and I and my household will be destroyed. And Simeon and Levi and all their brothers with them answered their father Jacob and said unto him, Behold, we live in the land, and shall Shechem do this to our sister? Why art thou silent at all that Shechem has done? And shall he deal with our sister as with a harlot in the streets? And the number of the women whom Simeon and Levi took captives from the city of Shechem, who they did not slay, were 85, who had not known man. And amongst them was a young damsel of beautiful appearance and well favored, whose name was Bunah. And Simeon took her for a wife, and the number of the males which they took captive and did not slay was 47 men, and the rest they slew. All of the young men and women that Simeon and Levi had taken captives from the city of Shechem were servants to the sons of Jacob and to their children after them until the day of the sons of Jacob going forth from the land of Egypt. And when Simeon and Levi had gone forth from the city, the two young men that were left, who had concealed themselves in the city and did not die amongst the people of the city, rose up, and these young men went into the city and walked about in it, and found the city desolate without man, and only women weeping. And these young men cried out and said, Behold, this is the evil which the sons of Jacob, the Hebrews, did to the city in their having this day destroyed one of the Canaanite cities, and were not afraid of their lives of all the land of Canaan. And these men left the city and went to the city of Tapnach, and they came there and told the inhabitants of Tapnach and all that had befallen them, and all that the sons of Jacob had done to the city of Shechem. And the information reached Jasher, king of Tapnach, and he sent men to the city of Shechem to see those young men, for the king did not believe them in this account, saying, How could two men lay waste such a large town as Shechem? And the messengers of Jasher came back and told him, saying, We came into the city, and it is destroyed. There is not a man there, only weeping women, neither is any flock or cattle there, for all that was in the city the sons of Jacob took away. And Jasher wondered at this, saying, How could two men do this thing, to destroy so large a city, and not one man able to stand against them? For the like has not been from the days of Nimrod, and not even from the remotest time has the like taken place. And Jasher, king of Tapnach, said to his people, Be courageous, and we will go and fight against these Hebrews, and do unto them as they did unto the city, and we will avenge the cause of the people of the city. And Jasher, king of Tapnach, consulted with his counselors about this matter, and his advisors said unto him, Alone thou wilt not prevail over the Hebrews, for they must be powerful to do this work to the whole city. If two of them laid waste the whole city, and no one stood against them, surely if thou wilt go against them, they will all arise against us and destroy us likewise. But if thou wilt send to all the kings that surround us, and let them come together, then we will go with them and fight against the sons of Jacob, that wilt thou prevail against them. And Jasher heard the words of his counselors, and their words pleased him and his people, and he did so. And Jasher, king of Tapnach, sent to all the kings of the Amorites that surrounded Shechem and Tapnach, saying, Go up with me and assist me, and we will smite Jacob, the Hebrews, and all his sons, and destroy them from the earth. For thus did he do to the city of Shechem, and do you not know of it? And all the kings of the Amorites heard the evil that the sons of Jacob had done to the city of Shechem, and they were greatly astonished at them. And the 7 kings of the Amorites assembled with all their armies, about 10,000 men, and drawn swords, and they came to fight against the sons of Jacob. And Jacob heard the thing the kings of the Amorites had assembled to fight against his sons, and Jacob was greatly afraid, and it distressed them. And Jacob exclaimed against Simeon and Levi, saying, What is this act that you did? Why have you injured me to bring against me all the children of the Canaan to destroy me and my household? For I was at rest, even I and my household, and you have done this thing to me, and provoked the inhabitants of the land against me by your proceedings. And Judah answered his father, saying, Was it for naught my brother Simeon and Levi killed all the inhabitants of Shechem? Surely it was because Shechem had humbled our sister, and transgressed the commands of our mighty God Ahiah Noah and his children, for Shechem took our sister away by force and committed adultery with her. And Shechem did all this evil, and not one of the inhabitants of his city interfered with him, to say, Why wilt thou do this? Surely for this my brothers went and smote the city, and mighty God Ahiah delivered it into their hands, because its inhabitants had transgressed the commands of mighty God Ahiah. Is it then for naught that they have done all this? And now why art thou afraid or distressed? And why art thou displeased at my brothers? And why is thine anger kindled against them? Surely our mighty God Ahiah, who delivered into their hand the city of Shechem and its people, he will also deliver into our hands all the Canaanitish kings who are coming against us, and we will do unto them as my brothers did unto Shechem. Now be tranquil about them, and cast away thy fear, but trust in mighty God Ahiah, our El Elohi, and pray unto him to assist us, and deliver our enemies into our hands. And Judah called to one of his father's servants, Go now and see where those kings who are coming against us are situated with their armies. And the servant went and looked far off, and went up opposite Mount Sion, and saw all the camps of the kings standing in the fields. And he returned to Judah, and said, Behold, the kings are situated in the field, with all their camps, a people exceedingly numerous, like unto the sand upon the seashore. And Judah said unto Simeon and Levi, and unto all his brothers, Strengthen yourselves, and be sons of Valor, for mighty God Ahiah, our El Elohi, is with us. Do not fear them. Stand forth each man girt with his weapons of war, his bows and his sword, and we will go and fight against these uncircumcised men. Mighty God Ahiah is our El Elohi, he will save us. And they rose up, and each girt on his weapons of war, great and small, 11 sons of Jacob, and all the servants of Jacob with them, and all the servants of Isaac who were with Isaac in Hebron, and all came to them equipped in all sorts of war instruments. And the sons of Jacob and their servants, being 112 men, went toward these kings, and Jacob also went with them. And the sons of Jacob sent unto their father Isaac, the son of Abraham, to Hebron, the same is Kiriath Arba, saying, Pray, we beseech thee, for us unto mighty God Ahiah, our El Elohi, to protect us from the hands of the Canaanites who are coming against us, and to deliver them into our hands. And Isaac the son of Abraham prayed unto mighty God Ahiah for his sons, and he said, O mighty God Ahiah, my El Elohi, thou didst promise my father, saying, I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and thou didst also promise me, and establish thou thy word. Now that the kings of Canaan are coming together to make war with my children, because they committed no violence. Now therefore, mighty God Ahiah, my El Elohi, the mighty God of whole earth and heaven, pervert, I pray thee, the counsel of these kings, and they may not fight against my sons, and impress the hearts of these kings and their people with the terror of my sons, and bring down their pride, and that they may turn away from my sons. And with thy strong hand and outstretched arm, deliver my sons and their servants from them, for power and might are in thy hands to do all this. And the sons of Jacob and their servants went toward these kings, and they trusted in mighty God Ahiah, their El Elohi. And whilst they were going, Jacob their father also prayed unto mighty God Ahiah, and said, O mighty God Ahiah, my El Elohi, powerful and exalted mighty God, who has reigned from days of old, from thence till now and forever. Thou art he who stirred up wars and caused them to cease. In thy hand are powerful in might to exalt and to bring down. O may my prayer be acceptable before thee, and that thou mayest turn to me with thy mercies, and to impress the hearts of these kings and their people with the terror of my sons, and terrify them in their camps, and with thy great kindness deliver all those that trust in thee, for it is thou who canst bring people under us and reduce nations under our power. Chapter 35, the last chapter for today. And all the kings of the Amorites came and took their stand in the field to consult with their counselors what was to be done with the sons of Jacob, for they were still afraid of them, saying, Behold, 2 of them slew the whole of the city of Shechem. And mighty God Ahiah heard the prayers of Isaac and Jacob, and he filled the hearts of all these kings' advisors with great fear and terror, that they unanimously exclaimed, Are you silly this day, or is there no understanding in you that you will fight with the Hebrews? And why will you take a delight in your own destruction this day? Behold, 2 of them came to the city of Shechem without fear or terror, and they killed all the inhabitants of the city, that no man stood against them. And how will you be able to fight with them all? Surely you know that their God, mighty God Ahiah, is exceedingly fond of them, and has done mighty things for them, such as have not been done from days of old. And among all the gods of nations there is none can do like unto his mighty deeds. Surely he delivered their father Abraham, the Hebrews, from the hand of Nimrod, and from the hand of all his people who had many times sought to slay him. He delivered him also from the fire in which King Nimrod had cast him, and his mighty God delivered him from it. And who else can do the like? Surely it was Abraham who slew the 5 kings of Elam, when they had touched his brother's son, who in those days dwelt in Sodom, and took his servant that was faithful in his house, and a few of his men, and they pursued the kings of Elam in one night, and killed them, and restored to his brother's son all his property which they had taken from him. And surely you know the God of the Hebrews is much delighted with them, and they are also delighted with him, for they know that he delivers them from all their enemies. And behold, through his love toward his mighty God Ahiah, Abraham took his only and precious son, and intended to bring him up as a burnt offering to his God. And had it not been for mighty God Ahiah, who prevented him from doing this, he would have done it through his love to his God. And mighty God Ahiah saw all his works, and swore unto him, and promised him that he would deliver his sons and all his seed from every trouble that would befall them, because he had done this thing, and through his love to his God stifled his compassion for his child. And have you not heard what their mighty God Ahiah did to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and to Abimelech, king of Gerar, through taking Abraham's wife, who said of her, She is my sister, lest they might slay him on the account of her, and think of taking her for a wife? And God did unto them and their people all that you heard of. And behold, we ourselves saw with our eyes that Esau, the brother of Jacob, came to him with 400 men, with the intentions of slaying him, for he called to mind that he had taken away from him his father's blessing. And he went to meet him when he came from Syria, to smite the mother with the children, and who delivered him from his hand, but his mighty God, in whom he trusted. He delivered him from the hand of his brother, and also from the hand of his enemies, and surely he again will protect them. Who does not know that it was their mighty God who inspired them with strength to do to the town of Shechem the evil which you heard of? Could it then be with their own strength that 2 men could destroy such a large city as Shechem? Had it not been for their God, their mighty God, Ahiah, in whom they trusted? He said and did unto them all this to slay the inhabitants of the city in their city. And can you then prevail over them who have come forth together from your city to fight with the whole of them, even if 1,000 times as many more should come to your assistance? Surely you know and understand that you do not come to fight with them, but you come to war with their God, who made choice of them, and you have therefore all come this day to be destroyed. Now therefore refrain from this evil which you are endeavoring to bring upon yourselves, and it will be better for you not to go to battle with them, although they are but few in number, because their God is with them. And when the kings of the Amorites heard all the words of their advisers, their hearts were filled with terror, and they were afraid of the sons of Jacob, and would not fight against them. And they inclined their ears to the words of their advisers, and they listened to all their words, and the words of the counselors greatly pleased the kings, and they did so. And the kings turned and refrained from the sons of Jacob, for they durst not approach them to make war with them, for they were greatly afraid of them, and their hearts melted within them from their fear of them. For this proceeded from mighty God Ahiah to do them, for he heard the prayers of his servant Isaac and Jacob, for they trusted in him. And all these kings returned with their camps on that day, each to his own city, and they did not at that time fight with the sons of Jacob. And the sons of Jacob kept their station that day till evening opposite Mount Sion. And seeing that these kings did not come to fight against them, the sons of Jacob returned home. And that's the end of the chapters for today. We will continue tomorrow. Thank you for listening.